Okay, Jordan, I see you now. All right. And whenever you're ready, Dave, thanks.
Okay, we're good to go.
Excellent, thanks. Good morning. This is a convening of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, and we are holding this meeting virtually, so our roll call. Good morning, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Hill.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Maynard. Skinner, I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Maynard.
Good morning.
And we'll get started. It is an agenda setting meeting today, public meeting number 147. We have no minutes, so we're going to get started right with our agenda planning. And thank you to Grace for our calendar. Everybody's seen that on page 2 of our notes. We'll get started with our next meeting is going to be on June 12th. And that's not on this calendar, but we have on our calendar now the public meeting that will begin the assessment of the application for the category 2 property. And Karen, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that. We do have, of course, an adjudicatory hearing this afternoon too, with PSI starting at noon. But if we just want to mention what we have planned for June 12th, Karen, that'd be great.
Yes, so for the 12th, which is next Monday, that will begin the process. I know that the commissioners are all scheduled to have a site visit later this week on Thursday, and then another one on Friday. So that's sort of the kickoff to the process because this is an on-site location. And then we'll begin the evaluation of the application. The expectation is that, similar to what we've done in the past, GLI will give a little bit of a heads up on what the evaluation on the safety and security of the technology and the integrity of the technology. But as you know, that comes later at the operations certificate process. The IEB has information from RSM on the financial stability of the company and suitability of the company. There will not be a full discussion on suitability, and Loretta will address that at the meeting on Monday. But you do have the application. If any commissioner needs any other information or needs access to the application, I think you've all had it for a while and haven't had an opportunity to read it and review it. But it is the same process that we have undergone for the other applications. The only difference is with casinos, you already had a running facility. And with online, obviously, this is not an online operator, and there's no tethered operator at this point. So, but the evaluation in those 6 areas of the application that you need to consider, you'll begin going through that process on Monday. Does anyone have any questions about that?
I think we have a link to the application, just like all the other applications. And I think the one thing that's going to be handy, Grace, I think, is going to make sure that we have the bookmarks in the long document so that for each section by section, it'll be bookmarks. That will be a new convenience for us. But it's all exactly the same. All the parts are in there. Other questions for Karen? Okay. And then return. That'll be probably a good full day if history repeats itself. So then we'll turn to the next full meeting. No agenda setting meeting in between, June 15th. And we'll get started on that. Karen, administrative update.
Yes, so Tripti Banda has put together a memo with respect to the additional COVID information that you had requested. I think she got almost everything. There were certain agencies where she couldn't just get a response, so put together as much as possible. So that memo is done, has been provided to Grace. So if you want to take a look at it now in advance, that might be helpful, because if there's something in addition that you'd like, if you could let me know, and I'll work with Tripti on in getting that information. But ultimately, the threshold question is the vaccine requirement, and then the collateral question is what are we doing with respect to our public meetings. We also have issues of the COVID requirements at the casinos. And Loretta, you had one in particular you were looking to lift. I don't think we're doing that one at this meeting on the 15th, but there will be more to come on that, I believe. I don't know if you want to elaborate just so the commissioners have a heads up, Loretta.
Sure. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. The one requirement that is still technically in place is the reporting requirement that when casinos become aware of COVID positive cases, they are to report those to the IEB. There was a long period where that was very robust reporting. Now as the COVID positives are less likely to even be reported to the employer, that's been trickled off. So I wanted to bring forward to you the item of whether you even want to keep that requirement, that notification requirement in place anymore.
Karen, I think it would be my preference if we could just address COVID fully,
Okay.
all aspects, anything that's lingering, any requirements that are out there, and then, look at the administration and the Department of Public Health and how they're managing any issues. Does that make sense, commissioners? That just get anything that's out there, right? Loretta, will you be all set with that?
Yeah, sure. I can be ready for that.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, anything that you want from Karen and team on? Okay. All right. Anything else for administrative update, Karen?
No.
Great. Then we'll have a couple of sets of minutes. Commissioner Hill, you've got December 9th, December 15th and December 29th, legal is saying. Is that still the case, legal? 3 sets, right? All set? Todd?
If it changes.
Yes. Right?
Oh,
Todd,
Todd's saying there's some changes maybe?
No, that is the plan, I guess, and if it changes, we'll let everyone.
Okay, we'll plan on it. All right. And then legislative update, I think, Brad, Commissioner Hill, you did want to have it on for June 15th, and we expect maybe some updates with Grace.
That is the hope. And if nothing comes out of the legislature, we'll just forget it.
Okay. And then we've got our regulation advertising reg that we're turning back to.
Yes, so we're planning to bring 2 regs on the 15th. The first is a new reg. I think the number is going to be 205 CMR 230, and that relates to the review of agreements between Cat 1, 2, and 3 operators. And then we're also bringing back the portion of the advertising reg that deals with false or misleading advertising for conversation, but not with a proposed amendment. There'll be a cover memo, and then there can be a conversation about whether the commission thinks any changes need to be made.
Okay.
And that's it for regs for that one.
All right. Sports wagering, Director Band.
Yes, I believe we have a couple waivers that we'll need. Crystal?
Yes, I think we'll be requesting a uniform waiver for 247.094, and I think we will have our operators submit some reasoning and some comments for that. And then 248.044, which these were all ones that were just voted on last Thursday. We'll need another uniform waiver for that for implementation. And then I think we're going to have to see what the operators come in with as far as waiver timelines for 48033H as well, which is the payment processing. So implementing that will take a little bit of time due to technology changes for the operators.
So I think I don't know any details, but I do understand that there is something needs to be addressed because of something that we were acting on last week, and I think we should probably just elaborate a little bit about that before it just gets put on the agenda. So Karen, I don't know if you're up to date on this or not.
I'm
I
sorry.
just- Yeah, I had just mentioned to her right before the meeting, so she doesn't have all the details.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
thanks,
yeah.
Director Van. I wasn't sure. Okay. thank
Yes.
you. So why don't I get a little bit of an update from you and Crystal then?
Yes.
Right
And-
now, or you mean on the meeting?
Well, I think now, because if it's going to go on the agenda, I
wanted to be
I
clear
should
before I jump
understand
in.
it. Thank
Yeah, so
you.
I think it's just a challenge in delay for receiving the comments on those regs. So you guys didn't see what the challenges would be because the comments weren't in the packet. And it was a issue with the deadline listed on the website. So they didn't get the comments in till last minute because it was on the agenda earlier than anticipated. So we have comments and we had them, but they were received. Well, I received them, I should say, Wednesday night, like right around 5 to 5:30. And then I think they just didn't make it into the packet for you to review prior to the votes on Thursday, but the operators weren't anticipating a vote. So they go into effect today. And due to that, they need these waivers because the technology isn't ready. And the 247.094, the issue with that is it's related to promotions that are already in play. So they just need it to be, they had requested that it not go into effect until a certain date so that those that were already in process could still fairly get what they deserved. And all the operators would shut this off at the same time. And make sure the industry was all aligned. So those comments just didn't come forward.
And I guess I want to make sure that it's clear that it wasn't because Crystal didn't do something. She didn't have them either. And I know that the receipt of comments it's really important for if we are voting on anything, if there are comments out there, we need to have them when we're voting. So Caitlin, I don't know where there is a gap somehow.
Let me clarify on this
sure
one.
we don't want to do it again somehow. Okay.
This is what I was clarifying at the beginning of the last regulation discussion, that there may have been some confusion among the operators related to sort of where these regs were in place. So for 138, 238, 247, and 248, the commission had voted on some amendments by emergency on April 24th, but voted not to file them right away. Because we had some additional amendments that we knew were going to come back on the 1st, right? So the operators had that amount of time to tell us something if they wanted to tell us, but nothing had been filed. Then we came back on the 1st, and there were some additional amendments that were also voted by emergency. And so that whole packet of amendments, the amendments from the 24th and the 1st, which the commission, this is sort of the way we've been doing it this entire time, will be filed, I think, today or tomorrow. Now is when the comment period opens, right? The comment period opens now. Now is when we start receiving comments and we can start reviewing comments. Of course, if any of the operators would like a waiver, they can and should apply for one. But this is the exact same procedure that we've been doing all of the way since last August. And there's nothing different, nothing strange here. And you will absolutely see all the comments that come in during the comment period.
I think that operators are having a challenge with the process now that they're operating because yes, we have been doing that all along. However, now when they are, put forth by emergency, it immediately makes them out of compliance, even though they have time to comment. And that's when they are coming to us. That's why this waiver request has to go on for next week. But it is making it so that internally we are having to process a lot of waivers because they do instantly take effect. So it's just, they're concerned. They want to make sure that their comments are being heard as early as they can before we're putting things into emergency. And we're trying to structurally, FYI, and we're trying to structurally make sure that this process internally and externally is now matching for them because they are getting a lot of confusion. I just want to make sure they're doing what they need to be doing.
Commissioners, now that we've heard it, that is kind of a little bit of a dilemma because of our process. We're getting the comments after an operational reg goes into effect. And, as Crystal just said, could put them immediately out of compliance without an immediate waiver. Even right now, as I understand it, because our next meeting is until June 15th, there must be something going on. So, Eileen, Commissioner O'Brien?
I'm just thinking doesn't solve the one right now that's out of compliance, but going forward, could the regs be written so that implementation is 30 days from the date of the vote? So by emergency with 30 days, I don't know if legal, if that's even something doable. That allows us to come in, and if anyone needs a waiver, we'll be able to deal with it before implementing it. It doesn't give the answer to sort of the technical violations right now.
Right. Doesn't resolve an immediate, but 30 days also somewhat
Or
defeats
15, I mean, something that gives
emergency,
a gap, right?
Or can we do the comment period simultaneously? I mean, I don't know. While you're drafting, it's going to come in front of us. I wonder if it could be.
Well, but it's weird that they see it before we see it. Like I'm.
No, I know.
You know.
I mean, this may be a good reason to start moving back towards when possible
normal.
non-emergency, right? Like, because
Right.
then that's the standard process. So I think that's probably the answer, is to start moving back in that way. And I would say that I think everyone understands what happened here, where, if it goes into effect by emergency, if they're technically out of compliance for a little while, I would anticipate they're not going to get dinged for that if they put in a timely waiver request. But I think we can absolutely think about things to do and think about trying to bring things via the sort of standard method to the extent possible going forward.
Well, Caitlin, and I appreciate that you're not going to get dinged, but it means that there's a lot more process, because now they have to apply for a waiver. We have to now issue waivers. So the process, there's obviously just a little bit of a gap there. So,
Right. And I will add that prior to the sports wagering division existing, we weren't seeing the comments because we wouldn't. And now we are. We worked with Mills and Communications to make sure that
you've just been added to the comments, but the comments again were not in front of the commission, and they couldn't have been in front of the commission. I've learned that today for clarification. They couldn't have been in front of us when we voted because of our process. I also don't want to say
as soon as
standard. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
I was just saying,
I'm
essentially, as soon as they saw it on the agenda. Essentially, as soon as they saw it on the agenda, they took the opportunity to submit comments. So it was really late, but that's because they saw it on the agenda. So I think at least they're paying attention. And that's why you were getting comments out of this, what Caitlin is describing, not the usual comment period, but they wanted to get ahead of it. And so I think we might see that a little bit if we're continuing by. When they see the vote, they get scared, right? So they're voting that in. And so it was just a reaction. They all called and said, we want to get the commissioner's comment.
All right, so commissioners, from just a straight process point of view, I'm not sure I want to accept the idea that everything gets put onto the standard, because we are still standing up a sports wagering industry, and we want to make sure that all of our regs that we want in place are keeping up with the industry we just stood up. So especially when they involve anything to do with integrity, anything to do with consumer protections, anything to do with responsible gaming, and all, everything that our sports wagering division is doing to make sure that we have the compliance that we expect. So I don't know if I want to push it out. I don't know how you all feel to the standard, but I also really do appreciate, the operators being concerned about being out of compliance immediately. I really appreciate that. And I don't know if commissioners, you want to chime in, but I like the fact that they were, wait a second, we're now out of compliance and we need a waiver. And I want to express that, that perspective. So commissioners, ideas for any solves here?
Madam Chair, I think there are times when we go through the regular process, times that we would not, and I think it's going to be dependent on whatever we're taking up. I'm wondering if a solve here, I honestly don't know the entire process, but is there a central repository for these comments? And I understand that these comments can probably come to other people, right? And different folks. I'm really thinking, is there a way, operational way to solve for this problem? And, is it something where they can be gathered in one place and one SharePoint drive, something that could make the comments come quicker.
If I can just jump in here, we actually do have a great process for this. The comments come in through the website, they're sent to legal and now to sports wagering. And so, at the appropriate time in the process, we gather them, we review them, we talk internally about them, and we come back to the commission with revised recommendations for the reg based on the comments, but it's a timing thing. So even if they come in a day in advance of the meeting, we're not going to have time to sort of turn those and deal with them in real time, frankly. And so that's why I think, like, as you said, Commissioner Maynard, each reg is different, and each reg, the commission will have to evaluate for each reg whether you want to move them by emergency or through the regular process. But I think from legal's perspective, we can just really think hard about that, what we're recommending each time. Does this really need to come through by emergency or not? And then to Commissioner O'Brien's point, maybe we can consider like a pause in filing or something like that, right? Like, you guys are on notice, we're going to put it up for comment, we're going to wait to file for 15 days or something. And then if you need a waiver in that period, bring it in. Like, it's been approved, it's going to get filed, something like that. I think we could absolutely do something so that the operators have a chance to get waivers in before the filing happens.
Commissioner Skinner.
So this isn't a new issue. I think we recognized this as a red herring early on in the process as we were beginning to stand up sports wagering. Commissioner O'Brien and I expressed concern that we were implementing emergency regs without having the public have adequate opportunity to weigh in. I think because the most recent regulations are technology centric, they have broader implications. And so I think that's why, the conundrum seems more prevalent now. I like the idea of either what Caitlin just mentioned, which is to hold the regulations after a vote is taken from filing for a period of time to allow comments to come in. But then I also wonder if, for instance, we have 2:30, Caitlin, that you mentioned coming up on June 15th. I'm assuming that will be marked up for a vote, but one option would be not to vote on that day, have these regulations be introduced to the commission for the first time, and then bring them back at a later meeting, perhaps 2 weeks after that, June 29th. And in that interim period of time, have the regulations posted so that the public and our operators can weigh in. And that eliminates the problem of having the regs be posted before the commissioners get an opportunity to see it.
I hear what you're saying, Commissioner. Again, the issue is just it's timing, right? So the emergency reg process is sort of set up so that it goes into effect, and then there's the comment period, and then that goes into final effect. It can change. I'm not sure that legal would have the time to kind of be having 2 quick meetings with comments in the middle for every reg that we bring forward, because that's a lot of work. But I would suggest maybe what legal could do is we could propose come back, think of some ideas, and come back to the commission with some ideas for how to deal with these waiver issues. I also just hate to speak for the whole legal department right now and live in this meeting when we sort of hadn't anticipated the conversation.
No, we didn't anticipate the conversation, but we also just had the issue come up. I appreciate Commissioner Skinner's input, Commissioner Maynard's input, Commissioner O'Brien's input. I think we have had a very productive system in the past, and have actually received a lot of accolades for a very smooth moving process, much under Executive Director Wild's leadership and legal's leadership. So I want to make sure I state that. Today was just where we realized that waivers are going to be requested. If we can't avoid that, Caitlin, I'm hearing you. I was just trying to imagine where there might be a situation where it's going to be anticipated that the waivers would be needed. Perhaps we pause. I am trying to make sure that we streamline the system so Director Band doesn't have to have his operators come back and sort of undo what the work we just did last week. So I leave it as we have the fix for next week. It's lined up. for June 15th. Crystal's on the ball with that. Director Band's on the ball with it. Sterling, you're right there. I know it'll be all resolved. And then Caitlin, to the extent you can think about and anticipate with legal, where we don't have to, where we can avoid waivers having to be requested. If there's a way that you can think about that solved, that would be great. So, thank you. All right, so we'll continue, but everybody now knows when we get to that matter on the 15th where it came from. All right, and now moving on to, and I think we're otherwise all set for sports wagering, Crystal. And for the 15th, you've got your 3 matters, Director Ban, you're all set.
Yes.
So good morning, you're all set.
Yep, we're good to go.
All righty. Then moving on to Chief Delaney.
Yep, we're set. Ready to go.
What are we anticipating for timing on that, Joe?
Well, I think we have 23 applications to walk through. So, I'd say it's going to be 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending upon how much discussion there is. And again, I'll try to talk fast.
Could you say it again, 2 to 2.5? Is that what you said?
No, I think about an hour and a half to 2.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just couldn't quite hear you.
Based on the way that we've been going so far, we've been moving a bit quicker than was anticipated. So hopefully that will be the case on this as well.
Okay, great. And I imagine that you're marking up our calendars with 2x2s too.
Yes. Yep. Next week.
Thank you. All right, and then Commissioner O'Brien.
Yeah, that should just read distribution of the document, not review, because since I wrote it, I really just have to do it in the public setting. So it'll be the distribution that date and then the discussion and vote on the 29th.
Yeah, Commissioner O'Brien, sorry, Chair. I think I marked you down a couple of different times, so my apologies on that.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure that expectations were clear, that we're not reviewing something that the others haven't been able to see yet. Commissioner Maynard, I gave it to him to give me some thoughts, but Carrie reminded me I need to distribute to everybody in public, basically. So that'll just be the active distribution on Thursday, and then we can discuss and vote the next time.
That's great. So we'll put the distribution on the 15th and the vote on the 29th, and then
yes.
And
then the next is the actual vote, where we deal with the actual votes on the positions, which is statutory.
That's great. And I do just want to note this meeting, as the commissioners know, was moved up from 10 a.m. to 9 a.m.
On the 15th?
On the 15th.
Got it. Thank you for the reminder.
Okay, so now anything else on from the team for the 15th? Karen, I don't know if you've heard of anything else.
I don't know if anything in particular.
Okay, Grace, have you heard of anything else coming up?
So I know we were discussing, Derek, I don't know if you and John are on whether or not we wanted to keep the final budget review on the 29th, or if that could be moved up to the 15th.
I think that, yeah, and that depended a little bit, Karen, on your schedule that day.
Yeah, so my expectation, I would be available at least through the morning. So if we want to put the budget as one of the first items, we could do that on the 15th, if that's convenient for Derek.
So I would suggest against that. We just got our public comment up yesterday, and that will close after 2 weeks on the 20th.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I thought it was closing off of the 15th. All right. Okay, so that makes that decision easy, Grace. So it'll be the 29th. Okay.
And that was my fault. I was on vacation Friday and Monday, so I didn't get those comments up until.
No explanation needed. I just I knew there was a 2-week comment period. Okay, great. Thanks. All right. Then anything else? I'm seeing not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think we'll also have a commissioner update from Commissioner Hill, I believe, some follow-up from our discussion.
Okay. Oh, yes. And Brad and I can talk about that when he arrives. He's in. Okay, so we'll have space for commissioner update and see if we add any particulars. Okay, thank you. Then we're going to turn right to June. Agenda setting will be on the 21st. And then we have an adjudicatory hearing commissioner on a qualifier. And then we turn back to a public meeting with a good, robust agenda. Administrative update from Executive Director Wells with her.
So for you're talking about the 29th, correct?
Yeah, now we're on, 15th.
Right.
So
So
the 15th, right? So now we're turning to 29th.
yeah, so we do have scheduled here an update from our gaming agency, Bruce King. So Bert, is that still a go? You want to give an update on what's going on with casinos? Okay, so why don't we include that as well on the 29th?
The 29th is all set from our side.
Okay, great.
And
Thank you.
how long do you anticipate that discussion being?
Beside the general update of activities happening at the casino, I was going to present a 5 to 10 minute discussion on the slot machine update, denominations in play, things like that.
Thanks, Burke. Okay, then we have minutes. We've got a couple of sets, Commissioner Hill and Judy. Judy's, I think we've heard December 22nd and January 3rd. We'll make that note. Legislative update, we'll keep that on in the event something rolls over from the June 15th date. And then we turn to regulations again.
So on the 29th, at a minimum, we have 205 CMR 255 play management coming back for a final vote. We may also have a few other regs, but we're still in the process of figuring out exactly which meeting we want to put them on. So I will follow up with Grace on that.
Okay.
The racing regs, I don't think will be ready for that day. We can bump those. We could probably take them off altogether. We'll get back to everyone when they're ready to go.
And is that whole?
Yeah.
All right. Those get rolled over. Then we're moving on to sports wagering. I know, Crystal, you were planning on perhaps that lottery update.
Yes, we are on track for that. And I think it'll be very brief, 15, 20 minutes or less.
Oh, I lost you. I lost you. My computer's acting up. Do you mind?
And I think we're also probably going to have some house rules updates. Sterl, I think we've gotten some of those. Is that correct?
So we've gotten requests on procedures. As a matter of fact, DraftKings, I believe, is trying to become proactive with their house rules and getting them in front of you for future dates. So that way we're not rushed to get them on the agenda. And then we will have all the dates in which they're proposing to take effect in the packet, in the request, and then being voted on by the commissioners at that time for something in the future. So yes.
Another question we might broach too is, are we going to have to vote on the merger of the PGA and LIV Golf? I knew Commissioner O'Brien.
Boy, that's a bomb, huh?
Yeah. I noticed you were muted.
Probably best for everybody.
Yeah.
So can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me good? Because I'm getting all kinds of, I've got to figure out my microphone system. I did speak with Mills about that today, Director Band, and there won't be any formal changes on that matter for about a year. So we'll stay tuned. So, But it is, I think right now we're all set on the event.
Okay,
that
thank you.
EA's fine. So we should be okay, but yeah. Commissioner O'Brien's nodding her head, yeah.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah,
think it was
no, I
kind
think surprising.
of a shot that surprised the world around the world. So there we go. Bigger than a
Yeah.
all-in-one. So we'll just wait to see what happens.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Director Van. Okay.
And just one other thing, if we could just mark up for events and wagers as well. We do have outstanding ones that haven't been received, but we are assuming they will be presented now that the form has been updated on the, the website.
Okay, you'll keep Grace updated on those. Thanks, Sterl. Okay. Anything else? All right. Then we're going to move to the final budget. Commissioner Skinner. And of course, Derek.
We should be ready for that. If
Okay.
there are substantial public comments in between, we'll obviously come forward to the commission to discuss them at a meeting that's in between then. See if we can add them to an agenda.
I don't think we have another meeting in between, but we could set one up, is what?
It would be June 15th.
Well, June 15th, I guess then perhaps, Derek, is that too soon for you? Because you're getting them on the 20th?
It shouldn't be too soon. We'll have a good idea. If we're flooded with public comments by the 15th, then we'll know that we have some issues we have to talk through. But if we're not seeing many comments or any at that point, I think the 29th will still hold very good for a date.
So I'll leave it to Commissioner Skinner on the 15th. If if we're going to be all set for the 29th, you can just let us know on the 15th, Commissioner Skinner. Does that make sense? You and Derek can coordinate, and if it turns out that we need more time to discuss comments, we do that on the 15th. You could keep us informed.
Well, I think what Derek is saying is that if we have comments to discuss on the 15th, we could do that. Is that what I'm hearing, Derek?
Correct. Right.
Okay, and so your request, Chair, is
keeping, yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that Derek doesn't have to follow everything. If you can keep me and Grace up to date on the comment situation, then we'll work on that.
Sure.
I'm trying to keep Derek's workload a little bit more streamlined for him. Thanks, appreciate it. Okay. Dr. Lightbound, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, we should be ready for the escrow item.
Okay. And then Commissioner O'Brien, we have, that would be sort of the last date. I think we were thinking for the vote for the new officer slate. Appreciate your work on this. So we'll be ready to go on June 29th, right? Thumbs up, thank you. Okay, Dr. Lightbound, the Jockey Guild recognition.
Yep, that should be ready also for the 29th. Thank you.
Okay. And Mindy will probably be available.
Pardon?
Ms. Coleman, Attorney Coleman will be available.
Yes, yep, she knows that that's the date that we're aiming for. And also with the fiscal year coming up, we want to get it done by then, so.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then the Game Sense update.
Yes.
Ron?
Good morning.
Good morning, Mark.
Yes, we have the Game Sense quarterly report up. In addition, I don't know if we want to separate the item. Long is preparing a report on the voluntary self-exclusion program, which we haven't really done in a very long time, but specifically reporting on numbers for casino and sports wagering voluntary self-exclusion.
Long, you're going to be all set for the 29th?
Yes, Chair, we should be all set for that.
Okay, and we look forward to both that report and the Game Sense report. Thank you very much. And then Mark, you've got the Springfield Community-Driven Research Project, which I know we're all looking forward to. How's that?
That's going very well. It's very close to being considered final. It's in the last round of review. So we will have that delivered to you commissioners well in advance of the 29th, so you have time to review it. The exact title of it is Views and Perspectives of Springfield Hispanic Residents on MGM Casino, Homes, Communities, and Neighborhoods. So it should be good.
So you'll be all set for the 29th. That doesn't push, and your presenters will be all set.
Yep, they are confirmed.
Okay, excellent. And that meeting is going to start at 9 a.m. Okay. All right, anything else to add on to the 29th? Dr. Lightbound.
Yes, if possible, I'd like to add 2 approvals for local aid payments. We're trying to get those done before the end of the fiscal year as well.
All right, Chad will be all set with that. Okay. Anything else? Grace is going, She thinks it's going to be a long meeting. Anything else, team? Right on. Meeting. Grace, can everybody hear me? No? You can? Okay. I'm getting challenges telling me that it's changing. So we don't have an agenda setting meeting. Of course, we could find time if need be. I think you've got in mind, Grace, the first week of July 4th week. And so the next public meeting is July 11th, everyone. And we would start with our administrative update. No details yet, Karen, but we'll stay tuned.
That's correct.
Okay, great. And minutes and legislative update. Regs, I don't know if you've thought that far out, but we're reserving space for you, Caitlin.
Appreciate it. We'll let Grace know.
Okay. And the same with sports wagering, reserving space. But we do have, that day is reserved for the expansion discussion. And Joe, does that still work for you?
Yeah, I think it should. So I think, we had the second public hearing earlier this week, and the previous information that I put together for you on issues that we need to consider, I think we can sort of synthesize all those comments into a single kind of memo. And then I think at that point, the commission then will just need to decide what particular things we'd like to see addressed in any application from Encore.
Okay, questions for Joe on that? Yesterday's hearing went very well. Thank you so much to Mills and Dave and Grace for the new technology. It was very smooth and well run. So thank you. Does that work for you? So that meeting will be a good piece of work for us, I suspect, on the 11th. And then, Commissioner O'Brien, we have down the succession of officers. So what's the vote?
That's just my mistake.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, that's the actual vote, because we need to vote annually. So that third entry shouldn't have my name on it. It should say all of us. And that's the actual vote for the upcoming year.
So you're kind of reporting on the 29th, or what are we doing on the 29th?
So I'm going to distribute the suggested procedural language on the 15th. We'll vote on whether or not to adopt it or change it in any way on the 29th. And then we actually have to do the statutory annual vote. So that July is the actual vote we need to take.
Of the officers. So the
Correct.
process is the vote. Okay, my mistake, Grace. Okay,
Yep.
Thanks so much, Commissioner Bryan. All right, and so that makes sense. Anything else for the 11th for the team?
I think Dr. Lightbound has a couple of things.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Grace.
Steve O'Toole had several different things. If if there's room for him. He had a promo reimbursement request and a promo consideration, and then a capital improvement reimbursement and a capital improvement consideration. And then he wanted to request what's called a place pick all pool for a wager. Under our pari-mutuel rules, we already have that regulation in place. However, it does need to be, every time they add something new, it does need to be approved by the commission. And any changes they're making to it need to be approved by the commission.
We should be on for those items.
Okay, great.
Look forward to it. We can absolutely add that on the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from the team, commissioners? Anything you have or can't? All set. Grace, is there anything that you got in your notes that?
Nope, that should be it for the 11th.
Okay. Now, looking again at our calendar, right the next day we have an agenda setting meeting, which will get us through kind of the rest of the month into August. The under review, let's just go through that. I love keep it under review.
Yeah.
Okay. Encore Broadway expansion, we'll probably have a second meeting, right?
Yeah, I imagine there'll be a couple more meetings on that at some point.
Right. So our next meeting on it will kind of dictate what our plan is. If you decide that you need something sooner, we can work with Grace. Okay. Compliance committee, I think Eileen, Commissioner Brown, if you and I could speak about that and discuss what that might mean, I think it might be helpful because I think we could have a conversation in one of our legal meetings on the implications. Okay. And then we have with Commissioner Skinner and Joe, you are looking at compliance under the host compliance agreement. Commissioner Skinner?
You can keep that on under review for now.
Okay, thank you. These are continuing matters. Director Ban, approval of certificate of operations. Do we have one that we're expecting sooner than later? Nope, on mute. Sorry, Bruce.
I will find out more on Bally's this afternoon. I have a meeting with them. And of course, we have later in early 2024, we have the last one that we have pending with that. So, yep, hopefully I will have information on Bally's today.
Yeah, because Bally's is the only one. We have always understood DGCs, and so Bally's we're just waiting for. Okay, thanks.
Correct.
The 90-day audit.
I'm not quite sure where we stand with the application because I've been off for the last few days, but I will find out on that today.
And you can just update Grace. That would be great.
Yep.
Thank you. And then the delegation of authority vote, that was just really memorializing, right, Commissioner Maynard, the document so that Alex has a working document going forward. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I was going to see, did the final version, I'm asking legal, did the final version get finished and circulated?
No, that's still in process.
Okay. But we did have the vote, or did we suspend the, we suspended vote waiting for the memorialization because we didn't really have a document. So, we want to keep track of that and not, because right now the 2013 delegation is still in place.
That's correct.
But Todd, I don't know if we could, if you and I need to talk, or that you and Commissioner Maynard need to speak about what was anticipated. The idea was that everything we discussed just be put into a memorialization of a document.
We can handle that.
Thanks.
I'll circle around.
Yeah, because I think each time now I'm saying, do we have the vote or not? And I'm appreciating Commissioner Skinner right away, shook her head. So we do want it. We either need to have the vote or we got to get that memorialization, but the more it falls better to have the memorialization. Thanks. Anything else for under review? Oh, here you are. I'm looking going counter, and so I end up on, you're in this corner, so I'm looking around, and there you are. Thanks, Dr. Latham. What's up?
Oh, yeah, at the staff level, we've been talking about the about the approval of the local aid payments, and it's a budget appropriation now, and so Todd, Derek, Chad, and I have had a little bit of discussions about it, and we just like that under review, and might bring that to the commission to discuss the various options and let the commission decide how they want to proceed.
Okay, so precisely for Grace's purpose, Dr. Lightbound, what do you want? For the
method of approval of local aid payments, and it would be a vote.
Okay. Anything else for under review right now? Thank you for that. All right. I think that's it, right? We've got our meeting schedule. If there's any questions about that, commissioners. All right. We have about an hour, commissioners, before we have our adjudicatory hearing at noon. So appreciate today. Is there anything that commissioners you want to say or contribute before we adjourn? Karen, all set? Right. Everyone's all set? Okay. Thanks for the affirming nodding, guys. Everyone's all set, right? Okay, thanks. Do I have
Everybody is all set, Madam Chair.
Thank you. If I have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you so much. All right. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maynard.
Aye.
And I vote yes. 5-0. Thanks, everyone, and thanks to the team. See everyone at noon.